Hello and welcome to the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association, AzMBA. I'm Aaron Vogel.
And I'm Mark Hodge, and we're thrilled that you're joining us for our podcast. We would like to thank our sponsors, MVP Apparel, Music and Arts, Vic Firth Zildjian, Zinked Up Designs, Milano's Music, Music for All, MacPack, Music Celebrations International, SchoolFunder.org, Bravwell Video Creations LLC, and Yamaha.
The AzMBA Copper State Podcast was created to bring together the Arizona Marching Band community and to connect, educate, and entertain those involved in this wonderful activity. Our goal is to introduce our audience to some of our state's wonderful directors, staff members, and adjudicators, and promote our circuit and our season shows. In this episode, we will be looking back at our championship events and looking forward to celebrating this 10-year anniversary of AzMBA. Hey, Mark, welcome back to the podcast, our fifth and our final podcast of the season.
Yeah, our post-championship podcast. It was a really great time. At all sites, I was at 1A. It was just a day full of celebration. Even when the kids weren't performing, they were in the stands cheering on other bands. And I'm sure it was the same at the other sites. You were announcing at 3A, but for me, it's always great to see the celebration of everybody's hard work and that everybody's there to support everybody. It's just like a day-long celebration, and then the great thing we do at the end.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about some of the bands that you saw, or who was successful at that event. Who were your medalists?
Our medalists at 1A were Pinnacle High School. I think they got an 81.325, and they were doing their two-road show. Their directors, David Birchie. Tankerverde came in second from down Tucson way. They had a 78.038, and their show named Opportunity was really fun to watch, and they really improved throughout the year. Just was fantastic to see after the critiques and the things that they got, that they put all those things into action and had a really good score at the end of the year. And Matt and Ben Johnson, their directors, did the show Opportunity. It was just fun to watch all year long.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was wondering, so with a show like Opportunity, did they throw in a little musical cliche with having a five-lit opportunity?
There was probably a five-lit at least 2 or 3 times in that show.
Yeah.
But I think only band directors and old men who used to be band directors would figure that out.
Yeah.
And Sierra Linda came in third. They had a 75.788, and then they were doing their Cleopatra show with one of our board members, Ricardo Laborin. He's one of our members at large for AzMBA. So it was great to see him have success.
Oh, that's cool.
You?
Yeah.
What about you were you at 2A, 4A, or were you at 3A, 5A?
I was at 2A, 4A, so we were at Perry High School, which is super appreciative to Perry and their admin. That was a last minute switch. That show was scheduled to be at Campo Verde, also in Gilbert. But there was a track renovation that happened at Campo. So, a week, 2 weeks before championship weekend, moved the show over to Perry, and it really went off without a hitch. The Campo band parents came together with the Perry site admin, their support team, their band director there, Ben, and they did a fantastic job. So it went just as smooth as it went at Campo, if not even smoother. And it was they have a really nice stadium, nice turf field. So it was a nice place for a championship contest. Perry, actually, the host school, ended up winning 2A, and they had a killer show. They called it Mirror Mirror. I think they have the coolest uniforms in the
Yeah.
activities. They didn't do a costume, as is the custom now for a lot of groups. They have their band's uniform, their school color uniform, and it is really sharp blue. They've got a pink sleeve. I think the Blue Devils should be checking out the Perry uniform and
Yeah.
making that fit. Yeah, it has some of that Blue Devil vibe from a few years ago. Their show is awesome. Paradise Valley, who I believe has a new director this year, Sherry Lindsay, they did fantastic. They came in second, and they did an overthrown show to play on words. So it had, the Queen of Hearts, and it had
Yeah.
different card images, and then the overthrown, like overthrowing the monarchy. And then,
Did they have a royal flush during the show?
I didn't catch that. That would have been
Yeah, I
cool.
tried to watch it one time. I saw their show, and I was like, "Is there a royal flush?" Because that'd be funny to me, like
Yeah.
parody on something. But uh,
Yeah, I wonder, I would have to look back at that to see if the cards were some kind of poker thing. I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look back at the vid. I can't recall. And then
Yeah.
Chandler, who also has a new director this year, is not a new director in our state, really well known and super well respected. Jeff Cuomo, this is his first year at
Yeah.
Chandler High. He's coming from
He's been
Mesa.
one of our judges before, so
Yeah, judged a lot, does state solo ensemble, just does, he's a killer clarinet player, teacher, band director, like he's got it
he
all.
plays some brass too.
Can he?
Yes, he can.
I did not know that. I know he
Yeah.
directs a brass group. I didn't know he could
Yeah.
play it.
Well, I don't think brass players like it when somebody who doesn't play brass conducts them, so he has to at least fake it pretty well.
I got you.
Yeah, he's a
Well,
good.
they came in third,
Yeah.
which is astronomical, amazing. And then their show was called I Hope. And then in the 4A, there were some big groups out there. In third was Higley. That's Chesley Sharp and Stephen Cheatham, directors. And they did a really interesting show called Snow Day. And there were a couple of those shows at that site. So it was like snow in Arizona, so
Right.
they did do the costuming. They had, blue and white snowflake
Yeah, I
costumes,
remember watching
and
that. Yeah.
that thing was cool. Casa Grande did a Striking Gold show, and that's one of a couple, sort of like Old West. They had a big ramp where I know the drum line like went up and did a number of solos, and their percussion section won that caption at that show.
Yeah.
Really, really fantastic. And then Campo did a fantastic job. They broke 90. They had a
Yeah, I saw that. That's amazing.
90.5.
I think they were the
Yeah,
highest score of the day, right? Throughout.
they were the highest score of all three sites. Yeah, and their show is called Looking Back. Director Matt Kozak is also the president of the organization, and it was they had the 7 years. The pop tune was heavily featured throughout. It was a beautiful show, and Matt's kids were in the show. So like his daughter was a drum major, and his son, who's not in high school yet, he had a red bicycle and kind
Yeah.
of drove throughout the field. So it had a little bit of that, like where the sidewalk ends.
Right. So it's kind of like
There's a
Matt
big
said to
sidewalk.
his son, you have one job. One job only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stay on the bike.
Yeah, stay on the bike, don't fall off. And then he had to sign that eighth grade waiver that some of the directors that are using eighth graders now had to do, I guess. So it's
Yeah,
becoming
yeah,
a popular thing with coming out of COVID, as a lot of people are using eighth graders in their bands now. So it'll be interesting to see in 2 or 3 years down the road how that plays out when they're juniors and seniors, like how much more experience they have. I'll be looking forward to seeing that.
yeah,
Um, so what about 3A, 5A? Neither one of us were there out in Hamilton. I'm sure Leo did a great job hosting it. By looking
yeah,
at the scores, I think Desert Ridge for me was the sleeper coming in because they had only participated once or twice in the circuit. So their score coming in like had them performing at like eighth or ninth place. But they're
yep,
always really strong, and they did a 83.975, and they did a Clue mystery at the Ridge, or Mystery at the Ridge, a Clue
yeah.
show.
Did you see the show this year?
I did see it early on,
Yeah,
and it was
I saw it. I thought it was fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
it was the Clue game that
yeah.
that we all grew up playing, and they just sounded fantastic. I mean,
Yeah, Stephanie's a master at the sound of the band. She's really, really good at the music part. She's great.
yeah, it was cool. Hamilton. Oh yeah, so Hamilton and we saw them, I think,
Yeah,
at the Buckeye show.
yeah, we did.
Super cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Genius: A Tale of Madness and Monsters.
I think my favorite picture from that show, it wasn't even the show itself, although it was a fabulous show, was the band parents dressing up as Albert Einstein and like crazy professors. They sat in the stands. It was just, I've never seen a booster group get into it like those guys did. They had a great time with it. It was just fun to watch.
They had the lab coats, right?
Yeah, they had the lab coats and
They had the lab coats. The drum majors with the green gloves, I remember.
yeah,
And there too, I've been so impressed this year. This is my first year out of the classroom, so I've seen way more shows this year. I've seen more shows this year than I've seen probably my entire career
yeah.
live. And they just sounded great. I mean, so these just super impressed with the bands in Arizona, the direction of the bands by these incredible directors and their support staffs, and obviously the admin and the parents and their middle school directors. But just super impressed with how folks are playing. They're just making great sounds. And
Yeah,
then Horizon, I didn't end up seeing their show this year. Did you see it? It was
I
called
didn't see it.
Evermore.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
see it.
Kyle does a great job there. I'm sure it was awesome. And then in 5A, I did get a chance to see all these groups. So Sandra Day did a really cool show. It was called Where the Yard Lines End. So that play
Yeah,
on where the sidewalk
where the
ends.
sidewalk ends. Yeah.
They had one of the coolest openings in the activity this year. So they had a mini band out. So it was just a portion of their band, maybe 20, 24 kids were out with the pit. And then there were band or maybe guard members that were in a prop. And the very first time I saw it, I could not tell that there were students in the prop.
Oh
They were
wow.
wearing white, and then the prop was all kind of in white, and they blended in perfectly. They were holding a like a drawn instrument, and when they popped out, it was like I was like, "Where'd those kids come from?" They just
Wow.
popped out. And they also did a really good job. Their drum line was like crazy good. I was really really impressed, and just impressed with their guard. And actually impressed with just the whole production. That they had a really good year this year. So proud of Austin Salone, his team at Sandra Day. And then Rincon, you saw Rincon, right? They did
Oh
also.
yeah, I loved Rincon's show, representing Southern Arizona, out of Tucson, and yeah, their show's off the rails. My favorite prop was, I guess it's a minor prop, but it was the way they lined up their front ensemble, and they had a whole train in the front of the front ensemble. It was like the train itself, and then all the things behind it. The way
Oh
they,
yes, yep, yep.
yeah. So that for me, that's just a great way to use your front ensemble as a mobile prop, actually, sort of. It was very well done. I love that, and I just love the concept of the show. And Jeff always does some really fantastic runs with the woodwinds, uh,
Hmm, hmm.
and it goes from side to side because he has all those woodwinds. So the runs
Yeah,
that they were doing went from side to side, and I always love that multi-stereo effect when
yeah.
you're
That was another big band,
yeah,
big numbers, and the confidence.
oh
That's
yeah,
what struck me when I saw Rincon. It's just, I mean, the kids were going for it. There was a confidence behind the musical performance that was really exciting to hear. And then in first place was Mountain Ridge, and I'm biased. I love the Mountain Ridge show,
yeah,
but super biased on that. They did a show called Heart of Steel, and the the ballad of that show was Coldplay's "Fix You,"
mm,
and it was played. They had a gorgeous soprano sax solo. That kid's name is Shaheen, like killer, all-stater, 4-year
yeah,
all-stater, and just like stunning musicality at the beginning, and then like crazy virtuosity at the end of that solo,
right,
going way up into the stratosphere, the altissimo range.
yeah.
So
Well,
super,
and
super proud of them.
yeah, and Jeffrey Malone, their new director, uh,
Yeah.
it's always hard to replace somebody who had a great tradition like yourself. And
Hmm.
just the fact that he was able to get them all together and continue that tradition and not have it fall off in any way. Like he's done a great job of doing a lot of the things there and keeping the traditions going. I hear there was something you read before every competition, like before
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
your tradition, and I know he
Yeah,
kept
so
that going. So
yeah,
it's really cool, and maybe it's a statement to say that when you take a new job from another director, you don't have to change everything, just change a couple things, like
yeah,
and make it, so the kids are comfortable, and he's done a great job, obviously, or he wouldn't have been in first place again. So with
yeah. Super proud
9.83.
of him. Super proud of the team
Yeah.
and the kids. The kids, they ultimately have to be the ones that navigate the ship through that kind of
Yeah.
change, and so yeah, just very very proud of them. I got to see the show this weekend for the first time. It was live, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
kids, great job. Um,
So you
well, I had a
said you've seen a lot of shows this year.
yeah.
And what was your favorite one? If you could pick a top one, what was your favorite? Without
Well,
being
I mean,
biased. Without
I'm
being
totally biased
biased.
to Rich, of course,
If there was
Yeah,
a second show that you would pick.
yeah, it's interesting. The shows that I was really impressed with this year, one was at the 2A 4A site, and it was Coronado. I was
Mm,
super impressed by Coronado, and they went on relatively early in the day. They have a new band director there,
mhm.
Brett Bell, they were clean. Like it was a, in my opinion, it was like a clinic on marching band. Like they marched well, they played well. The show was just clean and clear. And I was very, very impressed with them. That show really stuck out to me. So I
Mhm.
really like that. Um, I really did like Desert Ridge. Like I was super impressed by Desert Ridge. I was very impressed by my friends at Sandra Day. Um, I was impressed by Chandler too. Like, these
Yeah.
the bands Chandler, they had the most like gorgeous euphonium sound in a soloist. So they had a euphonium player like, way in the back of the field, like up on a prop, and this performer just had this access to the high range that I wish I had as a tuba player in high school. I did not have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was real singing up in the high register.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, how about you? What were some
Um,
shows?
I think my top one has to be Sunrise Mountain.
Sunrise, yep.
Yeah. Mostly and not
Wild West.
necessarily. Yeah, the wild something at the Gulch, the Sunrise Gulch or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But for me, it was to see. I've kind of watched Sunrise Mountain over the last 5 or so years, and just to see the excitement on the kids' faces and the
yeah. Hmm.
showmanship and how much it improved over the season, right? And then at the end, they were just able to enjoy and perform and relax and not be so nervous about what they were producing and just enjoy the show. And it's just really cool to see kids get to that point where this is all about having fun with your friends and
Hmm.
being pretty good at it. And Jacob's done a really good job there to change that culture and make it a culture of acceptance and the joy of music. So anytime I see joy of music on the field, I'm a fan. So
They had that in spades, and that, you could see that stemming from Mr. Osorio, from Jacob Osorio, their band director. I mean, he came dressed for the part too. He was in costume. He had the
yeah,
big 10-gallon hat. He had the bolo tie. Like the kids were pumped up. And what was that? They had a really memorable low brass feature. So all their low brass
yeah,
players, they came up to the front sideline. They, pulled out the trombones. So they had that going. And they had a really impressive drum line too. I remember,
yeah,
like those kids were playing a billion notes, playing them well. So a lot of memorable things this year.
yeah.
Well,
It was great.
everyone, to all the
Yeah,
directors, to all your
everybody.
kids who participated this year, congrats on a job well done. Um, Keep practicing, get to concert band. If you haven't, you know, I, in my experience, the earlier you start that, the better. Like that should be, as close to day one as you possibly can, and making those things where your fundamentals are the same outside and inside. You might be playing, at a fuller projection outside, but you're still making great sounds. So that hopefully your holiday concerts coming up here in the next month are great. You're prepped for your spring festivals and whatnot, and hopefully everyone's going because you start prepping, for next year, this year. It's always that continual cycle. So
Yeah.
really excited about that.
Well, I guess we should go into some business type stuff. We had some show action photography at all the events this year. AZMBA had several photographers contracted to take action photos at most of our events, if not all of them.
Yep.
Please make sure you visit the websites and download your photos. It's kenda.smugmug, smugmug.com, and it'd be under gallery. The gallery would be AZMBA 2024 shows, and the passcode is AZMBA 24 shows, and then a number
Sign.
sign. Number sign. So
A sharp.
AZMBA 24 shows, number sign. And then also Lee Myers Photography.com and Audrea Walshire Photography. Let me
Yep.
spell that one. AudreaWalshire, Audrea Walshire Photography.com.
Yeah, and friends, if you're listening to the podcast and you go to the website, you can check out that stuff. Yeah, Kenda, Lee, Audrea, I think they did a real nice job. I know Lee did a number of photographs the last couple of years for the band where I was teaching at Ridge. So really stunning photographs. You can check that out. If you or your company, so if you're a small business owner, a medium business, large business owner, and want to get in on a 2025 sponsorship, please reach out to the board at azmba.org. we'd love to partner with you into our next season. And yeah, the 10th year anniversary season. So we just had this incredible 10th anniversary. We just want to thank again directors, staff, students, parents for making this year really memorable. We hope that the efforts of our board and the staff of AzMBA have been able to provide you with a really high quality experience. And we're just so proud of everything that you have achieved this year. As we go into the off season, reach out to the board if you have any suggestions, comments, concerns, or some shout outs. And be on the lookout for some really big plans for 2025. Mark, what are some of those plans for next season?
So we're going to continue. The podcast has been really positive in the fall, so we're going to continue it into the spring, and then just with some educational things, some training that we think would be that we'll hopefully hear from you about what you would want. We have some ideas about things that we could fill the spring with. Some people preparing for the next fall, like teams of people to come in and help design a show, or just to show the concept of how to design a show. If you have a small band and you don't have the staff to do that, I think we're going to have a couple of those in the spring. We're also going to rebrand our organizational logo and probably our website. So we're excited to do that. You may have seen the colors from our patches that we had for sale. If you can see that on the podcast, it's kind of cutting it out. I think there it is.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. So those are the colors we're going to have, and other than that, we'll keep it to ourselves. So you can see the rebrand when it happens. And then, we would like you to encourage groups to sign up for AzMBA events, season shows, championships, any educational events we have, I&E, which we'd really like to see more and more kids come out for. And make sure if you're going to AMEA Conference in 2025 in January, early February, that come into the booth, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like to see us do more of, and just reach out and have a chat. It'd be fun to see you guys.
Yeah, and to echo that, really want to encourage folks to go to the conference. AMEA's conference. It's January 31st to February 1st, so that's a 2-day conference. It's at the Mesa Convention Center. I just have this vision of every single music educator in the state of Arizona converging on the Mesa Convention Center and being a part of that. There's going to be fantastic performances. They have honor performances by groups at collegiate, high school, middle school levels. They've got clinics, clinic sessions that you can go to learn more about your craft. And I saw, some of those, because people post that up on social media. There's going to be some great clinics that are out there. Myself, Mark, and our colleague at the Department of Ed, Kelly Montoya, are going to be doing a really fine clinic called Show Me the Money. So it's all about how to leverage assets and the grant that we oversee, so that you can make yourself a stakeholder in that, and see if you can find ways to encourage the money to go towards your program. So we want to encourage you to come to that and to go to all the great performances and sessions.
Yeah, and if you register early enough, you get your favorite chicken meal for the luncheon.
The luncheon's cool.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this season. And if you're still listening now, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and checking out the podcast. And we want to wish you the very best as we close out 2024.
Have a good Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas. That's coming up soon too. And spend time with your family, because you've not been around for the last 3 months, band directors. Go home and spend time with your family.
You got it. All right. Thanks. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.